I'm Ben Quiggle, editor of Woodall's Camera Magazine, and this is another edition of WCM's Park Update. And my co-host Mike Gast is here, the CEO and president of the Emiola Group. And I think I finally got that name down,
You
Mike.
nailed it. You
I
nailed
know,
it.
I
It
know.
only took 3 years.
Yeah, it only took a few years. And our guest today is somebody who's probably really recognizable to our audience, Kathleen Walsh. She's the founder and president of the Outdoor Hospitality Group. She, the last few years, she's was CEO, president of Advanced Outdoor Solutions, which turned into Advanced Outdoor Management last year. And she's well-known speaker and thought leader, really. I love the new book thing that you did at the Ojai Outdoor Hospitality Conference and Expo last fall. That was excellent. So it's always great to have you on, Kathleen. I guess, can you just talk a little bit about what you've been up to here recently and kind of the transformation of some of the companies that you've managed, I guess?
Sure, Ben. Thanks. And it's always nice to join you along with Mike to talk about the industry and what's going
Mm-hmm.
on. But I guess on a personal front, the big news has been released this week that I will be retiring from Advanced Outdoor Management. A year ago, I sold Advanced Outdoor Solutions to Our Journey and the Ross Companies based out of Goldendale, Washington.
Yeah.
And they rebranded as Advanced Outdoor Management. And they asked me to stay on for a time of transition, which I was happy to do. And my time has now come to an end. So I will be resigning, or not resigning, retiring, really. I wasn't pushed out. This was mutually decided when the company sold. And so they've been very gracious and wonderful to work with. They have incredible vision for the future. But my tenure is over. And COO will now be Rachel Godbout, who has worked with me for 18 years, more than capable of taking over. And I will be focusing on my other company, which is an outdoor hospitality group. And we do not manage properties. We do land plan, market and feasibility studies, consulting. We help a lot with acquisition assistance and financial performance for banks. So I'm looking forward to working maybe a regular work schedule rather than 80 to 100 hours a week.
Probably more palm trees in your future then, right?
And fishing. And fishing and skiing. So yes, so thank you for asking. That is the big news coming out, and it's bittersweet because I've worked with amazing people, and I've been in the industry a long time. And yeah, so part of the downside is not getting to work with the team on a day in day out basis because some of my people have been with me, you know, 18 years, 10 years, 8 years, and they're friends as well as colleagues.
Yeah, definitely. I guess, before we get into the hard questions, I guess, what kind of fishing do you enjoy doing?
Well, I'm right on the Gulf of America in
Yeah.
Florida. So we're big saltwater fishermen, and we get red snapper, grouper, mangrove snapper, sheep's head. So there's good fishing here where I am. And so
Yeah.
and I have a new what we call skinny water boat, so I can get into the mangroves to fish.
Well, you're gonna have to. I'm gonna have to come down there. You're gonna have to show me a thing or two because we fish for bluegill and bass and stuff up here in Michigan. But you're gonna have to show me how to fish for some of that stuff down there.
Oh
I don't
man,
think I don't think we should be talking to anybody, Ben, in the wintertime that has palm trees in the background. So.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that is my backyard too. So I'm very spoiled, and I'm right. My boats are right there. I have a deep water boat and a skinny water boat. So we moved here 12 years ago, and boy, we love Florida. That's for sure.
Well, I wanted to get your thoughts on a story we recently published. Jeff Kreider wrote about the number of sites that are coming into the industry. And I know Jeff has been doing these types of stories for a few years for us now. And, the numbers aren't definitive. We don't get every site. We just try to gauge through a lot of different partners how many sites are coming up, they're bringing on and just try to get a glimpse of what might be coming. But he mentioned, um, new 5,700 new campsites,
Mhm.
4,100 are being built or coming online through expansions or developments. I just wanted to get your thoughts on those numbers. Like, what's your thought on the market activity and whether or not we have the campers to fill all of these sites now? I remember a few years ago where they were saying, "Oh, we don't have enough campsites,"
Right.
and now it seems like things have slowed down a little bit, but we're still adding campsites pretty rapidly, I
Mhm.
guess.
Well, that's a great question, and it's one of the reasons we've been so adamant about teaching the smaller parks or the older parks or the mom and pop parks to not just rest on their laurels, because competition is coming and you need to keep up with the market and the market demands if you want to still be a viable product in this year and the years to come. So there are quite a few properties coming online. Many of them are ones we developed and have spearheaded. And so the it's going to be survival of the fittest, for lack of a better term. If you have the right amenities, you have the right marketing, you have the right product and guest services, you're going to rise to the top. And if you don't keep up with that, then you're going to fade into the background. And so it's very important that older parks or more established parks pay attention to the market trends.
So, Kathleen, part of it is timing too, isn't it? That it takes quite a while. My time with KOA Incorporated showed me that plans, especially at that level, can go on for years before the plan is the trigger is pulled, and all of a sudden you've got 2 years of development to do. So a lot of these plans that are coming online now might have been worked on for 3 to 5 years, and when the situation was different. So now, are you seeing any regret out there from people that are coming online at this point?
Not at this point in time. And I actually have the reverse scenario happening right now with one of our clients. They are getting ready to permit and design and develop a property in the heavily damaged North Carolina area. So it's the reverse scenario. They aren't afraid of it taking a couple years for the planning and permitting process, because we believe that by the time they're ready to build and put a shovel in the ground, the area will have recovered. So it's kind of interesting that we're seeing that in reverse in some places. But as you state, the municipalities can either be easy to work with or difficult to work with. We just had a moratorium lifted in Maine for a client. They put a 180-day moratorium on him. And I applaud the planning commission because they came back with a very thoughtful process in the end. But yes, you can run into delays that affect your project, affect your timeline, and can affect your market.
I think Landon Dory from Net Lease Investments mentioned on LinkedIn a couple days ago where he was talking about oversupply. Is that an issue for the industry? Like, is there going to be are we going to get to a point where there's too many parks, too many sites, and then there's just not enough campers to fill all of that? I guess.
Well, I we pay attention to that because there are some areas of the country that are becoming pretty saturated,
Yeah.
whether it be the number of actual campgrounds or the number of sites.
Hmm.
So I was looking at a project yesterday for a client in an area of the country that I was maybe a bit concerned about, but then when I looked into it deeper, um, the large parks that would be a competitive set were 6 hours away. So that eased my concern a little bit. But we look at that when we're advising clients and we're pushing them to areas that haven't seen enough um, development. And there are some of those out there. I'm not going to say which states because that would give away my client's secret, but there are some sweet areas that have not seen the development. And so there's still areas out there that would benefit from a nice modern RV park and campground.
So, how important is it to monitor what's going on in the RV manufacturing industry? When I talk to a lot of dealers, and they've been telling me as a whole that they spent 2024 taking their inventory down. They were trying to get rid of aging models and trying to get their inventories right because they'd kind of overstocked. Uh, we've probably seen the end of the mass uh, addition of newbies into the market that
Yeah.
was forced on us by COVID. Some of those machines, some of those units are now making their way back into the marketplace.
Mhm.
But uh, that huge post COVID boom is over.
Right.
A lot of decisions were made based on that, both on the dealer side and on the campground side. How has that landscape changed?
Well, that's the advantage of working someone who's been in the industry for a long time, like all of us have, because we've seen the ups, the downs. We know what level is. So to go crazy during the COVID boom was not wise. You need to look at the long term. It's like a stock. I bought stocks when I was 18 and I haven't looked at them until maybe this week when I'm retiring. So I put my stock in there and let it ride the highs and the lows. And at the end of the day, got a good return. I feel the same way. And I think the data shows the same about the camping industry. You're going to have the lows, you're going to have the highs, but overall, this year, we're seeing about a 6% increase over last year. So I'll take that any day of the week. I mean, most industries would. So I think, yeah, we're not at the heyday, but we're also not, sucking the bottom.
So what's the current status of construction costs on a new build now?
Whew.
Has it gone crazy?
Depends on your area and the kind of contractors you can get. But as Ben stated earlier, when we were off the record talking about his personal home, contractors are busy between the hurricanes in Florida, the fires in California. Contractors often are our guests at our RV parks and campgrounds because they pick up shop and move to where the work is. And so it can be tough sometimes to get contractors, and if you get them, to get them at the right price point. So, yeah, you have to be selective. We're very fortunate since we've been in the industry so long. We have dedicated contractors who work with us. But that's because we pay them fast and accurately and take good care of them when we do have them.
Well, talk about that process that your company gets involved in. How far how far do you get involved? Are you with the project all the way to opening?
Oh, yeah, and beyond, because oftentimes then I'll hand it off to management for third party management. We have clients hire us to find them their land, to find them the right market. They'll come to us and say, "This is my budget. I don't care where I am in the United States or Mexico or Canada. I just want a good return on my investment." So we'll scope out where we think they should go, which is why we were involved this week with a client. He's not a new client. We already have existing properties of his, but he likes what we found him in the past, and he's wanting us to guide him where to go in the future.
Yeah, definitely. I guess part of this discussion too is on the quality parks. I've seen people mention, well, there's not an oversupply of quality parks. I guess what's that mean for you? Like when they say quality RV parks, what does
Well,
that look like for you?
and I say this as someone in the industry and someone who goes on 2-month long RV trips.
Yeah,
So I say it from both sides of the fence. Quality to me means number one, clean. Um, Something that is clean, welcoming. Of course, I'm beating the drum, but someplace I can plug in and work off the Wi Fi. Of course, being an avid RVer, I know to take my own hotspot because I have to work, but
hmm
clean, a place where my pet can get some exercise. Um, a pool or a gym is something we like to have. We have laundry in our RV, but we would rather have laundry on site so we can do more than 2 pair of jeans at a time. So clean, welcoming, level, full hookup. Um, I don't need a lazy river or, a bar. Those are resort style parks, which I'm all in favor of. I developed one of the nicest ones in the country. But for me as an RVer, clean, comfortable, level, full hookup, nice amenity package.
we see. I see all this development happening, and we also have an article that we published yesterday, or no, it was today, about glamping, how they're adding more glamping accommodations to campgrounds and RV parks. But I guess, is there any issue? And I know you're a big proponent of dynamic pricing. I've heard you speak a lot on it, but is there any price pressures right now? I just spoke with Toby O'Rourke for a show we did with RV Business, and she was talking about how the population of campers is actually that their income is lowering a little bit on what they're studying. So the more lower income people are going RVing, and then the higher income people are kind of going glamping, I guess. So is there any pressure on the prices right now of campsites?
So that just harkens back to where it was when I first started in the industry 20 plus years ago. Our
Yeah.
typical camper was lower middle class to middle class. And then the people we got in our cabins and our more like our waterfront expensive sites were on the higher end of that spectrum. We were not, Elon Musk was not rolling into our campground and staying there. He was going oceanfront at the beach. So we've always catered to that lower middle class or middle class family who wants that affordable price point, but also it's really an all-inclusive vacation because our amenity package is included and our activities are included. So you cannot beat, still to this day, in my opinion, the price point of camping for a family wanting a nice vacation.
So what are campground owners telling you they're the most frightened by? Is it the insurance crisis we've got going on? Is it the changing face of the customer, where they're much more newbie and less experienced? What's on the mind of a campground owner?
Well, most campground owners are terrified of food and beverage. I'll tell you that right now. Most hoteliers are. They'll tell you the only reason they put restaurants in their hotels is because they have to for the business travelers. So if you mention or we mention, hey, you're like 30 miles off the beaten path, you're going to have to offer some food options. They're terrified of that. So we try to walk them off that ledge. Incoming saturation is a big concern because of all the new sites coming onto the market. I feel there's always a way to create your own niche. I just do. I've built parks close to amazing other parks, and we've always found a way to create our own niche. Maybe that park next door is transient, so we go more long term. Maybe they're more long term, we go more transient. Maybe they don't have any glamping, so we go heavy on glamping. We try to carve out create our own mousetrap and build a better one to compete in the market. But they're afraid of saturation. They're afraid of food and beverage. That's some of the main things they're afraid of. The cost of money today, that's a big one.
So what about the impact on the insurance industry with the fires in California? What happened in the Carolinas? It's got to be tough on campground owners.
Oh, I'm a poster child here in Florida. I mean, it's our insurance is either not being renewed or it's skyrocketed. So this is where your state associations are very handy. So I give a shout out to Bobby and his crew at Florida Arvic, my home state. They created a symposium online with insurance companies and owner operators to try to give them some competitive edge or competitive choices to get rates down. You might have to go with a higher deductible, but there are ways to skin that cat, but it's not as easy as it used to be.
What's interesting about the Canadian market is I was just reading today where they were saying that Canadians are selling their homes in Florida because the price of the Canadian dollar is lower and the insurance cost.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think this year when I talked to park owners, they saw a decent amount of Canadians come down. Is that something that concerns them too? Maybe not being able to draw as many Canadians on a
No,
yearly
not in the
basis?
RV parks and campgrounds because the Canadians, I mean, I've not been to Canada in the winter, but I can't imagine if you love Florida in the wintertime, the price would have to skyrocket to lose that market because they come
Mm.
for 6 months. They can't be here 6 months in one day, but they come for 6 months. So I wouldn't necessarily be concerned about that. If you're going to draw that Canadian market, in my opinion, you should have French speaking staff because most of them in Southwest Florida are from Montreal. And they speak French, and it would do you well to have a French speaking staff member who can make them feel at home, and that would go a long way in welcoming them.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, you know, what about cruises? I heard Toby O'Rourke speak a little bit about cruising. I was just reading the other day from AAA that they're expecting a record 19 million Americans to cruise. Is that a concern for RV park owners? How do they market against people spending money on cruises, I guess?
I hate cruises. I went on one in my life, and though I saw some beautiful places in the world, uh, I went to the beach, and my beach time was 3 hours. For me, a beach day is like 10 hours. So, and I'm not a big drinker, and I'm not a big gambler. So, there was a lot that didn't appeal to me. I think marketing to the core camper, the person who really is that outdoor lover. I don't I don't see cruises as being something that is as appealing to them as camping near a national park, hiking, biking, having a fire at night around the campfire, cooking your own meals. I cook my own meals 3 times a day when I'm on the road. My mother thought I was crazy and couldn't understand that, but I like to eat a certain way.
Yeah.
So that appeals to me. So for that core camper, I don't see losing them to cruises in a way that's overtly harmful.
Yeah, I mean, cruising surprises me because I think after COVID, we were all stuck indoors and we're more aware of being around people. And then for some reason, thousands of people want to get on a boat out in the middle of the ocean in
Yeah.
tight quarters and spend a week together. So that just fascinates me. I've never actually been on a cruise. So, Mike, have you actually been on a cruise?
I never have, and it's never appealed to me. It's all I can think of is getting stuck on a floating hotel with 7,000 people. I really don't care for.
Right. I found it crowded. The pool was crowded. I'm not a drinker. My husband bought me the unlimited drink package. I'm like, I'm good for 2 glasses of wine and that's it. It did include sodas and coffee though, so that was good. Gambling's a big thing. I'm not a gambler. I try to watch what I eat. Food is in your face all day, every day. So, it just wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
Outdoor recreation is my thing, not only as an owner, operator, business owner, but as a vacationer. That is the way I choose to vacation. I just got back from an amazing ski trip. That's my kind of vacation, is to be
Yeah.
outside.
I
Yeah, I
saw.
would think instead of the ocean cruises, the river cruises in Europe could be a
Yeah.
more appealing because you're getting on and off that boat a lot more,
Yeah.
and it's all based around the excursions, not so much 5 days at sea. And I kind of like the idea that if I really get tired of it, I just get off and go.
Right. And we may do one of those, but to me, at the heart of outdoor hospitality, and the reason I fell in love with outdoor hospitality more than 20 years ago, is because it is a great place for a family or a couple to reconnect. Unplug, even though they want Wi Fi, fish, sit around a fire making s'mores. My adult children, who I was with skiing, raved about the times we went camping in a pop up. Of all the vacations, those are the ones that they talked about the most. And they're in their
Mhm.
late 30s now.
So, as we get ready to wrap up the show, I guess, when you look at the industry, what concerns you the most in the
Mhm.
next year or two to 5 years, down the road, I guess? What concerns you the most about the industry? Is there any thing that could really hurt the industry or?
Well, the cost of money is a concern because, I don't know if we'll ever see the day of 2 and 3% interest rates again. But right now, I just got a loan doc for a client this week, and it's at 8%, which isn't awful, but it's not what it was a few years ago.
Yeah.
So the cost of money has slowed construction for people whose, as you said, Mike, their initial pro forma might have been done 5 years ago, and that was at 3% money. When you've more than doubled that, that's a big concern. I would say that I think the camping industry is always going to be there, whether it's through new RV sales or aftermarket RV sales. So I'm not as concerned about that. What is concerning is older campgrounds that have been around a while who don't want to keep up with the trends. You will lose market share to those incoming new builds because likely they're owned by investment groups or young portfolio groups who understand marketing, AI, um, uh, dynamic pricing, which means rates go down when you need occupancy and rates go up when you don't need the occupancy. So
Yeah.
they connected OTAs, they're integrated with third party apps. AI is, I know everybody's saying it, but I already see it making big waves in our industry with call centers, auto answering, auto bookings. Those things are going to be huge. They're going to help the park owner with payroll dollars for sure. Whether the guest experience will suffer from them is to be determined.
Yeah. I mean, AI is going to be interesting to see what that does. I mean, I've seen some interesting call center stuff at the shows, and that's going to be interesting.
Mhm.
It's still surprising, though, to me that there are parks in the industry that still use pen and paper. So,
I'm working with one right now. Well, it's not pen and paper. Let me take that back. It's an antiquated system that doesn't have online booking.
okay,
This is a gorgeous park, gorgeous in Texas, just 2 miles off the interstate, and they're not getting any overnight traffic because people can't book online. They want them to fill out a reservation request form for a one night stay. People aren't going to do that. But thankfully, they hired us to come in and do a business audit, and we are flipping that script very quickly.
do you think we talked with Toby too a little bit about the booking situation where people have to go to a bunch of different sites to find campgrounds and do you think that gets solved? Do you think we ever get to a point where we get like a hotels.com?
I do. I think some are making good inroads with that on the RV site side. Of course, all of our glamping is on Airbnb, Booking.com, Expedia,
Yeah.
VRBO. If we have glamping, we're on the OTAs. And if we have RV sites, we're on the OTAs. We're integrated with Hip Camp, with Spot Tonight, with the Dirt. If you say you can rent our space, we're with you because we only pay you if you rent it. And, you know, if they take 20%, 80% is better than zero any day in my book. So we love OTAs, but that's a big step for some of the software companies who think they are their own OTA. You're
Yeah.
not. Okay, you're not.
Yeah.
You might be your own marketplace, but you're not your own OTA.
And it'll be interesting to see how AI develops in that area too.
Mhm.
So I know trip planning's already been impacted quite a bit by AI. So
Another
um,
thing we're doing, Ben, I have learned, I finally learned that Wi-Fi is not meant to be in the outdoor environment. It's just not. There's too many campers, trees, mountains. So any new builds and even retrofitting, we're running dedicated Ethernet ports to each pedestal.
Wow.
Yeah. And in a retrofit property, we're vibrating or butterflying it into the ground. So we're not going in and disturbing everything. So it doesn't look like, a bomb went off. But that if you want to give people an at home experience, which is what they expect, that is how we're doing it now. We can't do Wi Fi anymore.
I know that was a big issue during COVID when this influx of new campers came in with a different expectation, and being involved in marketing in the industry for quite a while, we had just educated the current camper to the point where they understood what they were going to get at the typical campground, and that five of their kids couldn't be streaming movies, over their phones at the same time,
Yeah.
and we just gotten it to that point, and then this new influx comes in with a different expectation, and it just blew it up again.
That's why I've waved the white flag with Wi-Fi. I may, have it like in a hotspot area. And if I have a retrofit where I can't bring fiber into each pedestal, then I do the best I can. But anymore, we are running dedicated Ethernet ports. And at that point, I feel comfortable charging someone. I might give them basic for free still, but if you want to work or stream, I always stream. I'm a huge football fan. I traveled all during college football season this year, and I wanted my games. So I took my own hotspot. But I have no problem charging you if I have run a dedicated Ethernet port to your site. You
Well,
are then getting a good experience.
did they used to charge for cable, correct, or not?
A
Did
lot of
they?
people did, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So I guess it's similar. What's interesting is I've heard for a couple of years now where developers are saying, the top end developments have it right at your site, so you can
Right.
just plug in and getting rid of the Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
But
it's great. And
yeah,
I tell you who's becoming savvy, the guests are becoming savvy. So if you used to charge for water, let's say $25 a month, you just picked a random number or a flat fee, they are understanding more and more that state law in many states say you can't do that unless you have a dedicated meter. Like you have
Hmm.
to have a meter. You can't just say, "Well, I'm going to charge you 15 for trash, 25 for water."
yeah,
So, um, yeah, if you want to back charge guests for things, you have to make sure you have meters to be able to do that.
definitely, yeah. And yeah, I mean, the guests are getting savvier. This credit card fee thing's going to be interesting if it passes Congress.
Yeah,
So, I mean, a lot going on. But
yeah.
thanks, Kathleen, for coming on. I'm sure I'll see you at some shows. Are you
Yes,
still
you
going to
will.
be going to the shows, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're signed up for
Okay.
glamping this year. I'm a member of the Glamping Association, but I had the honor and privilege of being asked to be put on the advisory board for the show.
There you go.
So that is something exciting I've been working on with Ruben and his team over there. So yes, you will see me on the road with my outdoor hospitality group staff.
And if anybody wants to get in touch with you, what's their best email address or contact number to get a hold of you?
So our website is outdoorhospitalitygroup.biz.
Okay.
And if they just go there, they can reach me. Our contact information is there. Again, we don't do third party management. AOM does that, the company I sold, and I'm happy to introduce them to Rachel. But if you're building, you want to acquire, you need financial performers, anything like that, we are your group. We've been doing it forever, and we have the track record to, show that I think we do a good job.
And if you ever call and Kathleen's not available, you can just assume she's reeling in a big fish, I guess. So
You can talk to Amber. She's my right hand girl. She's been with me forever.
So you don't have a hot spot on the boat then.
No, I do not, and I'm not getting one.
well, thank you, Kathleen. It's always great talking with you, and thanks everyone for watching. And we will be back again next week.